Coming up in a couple of minutes here on Late Night Health, in roughly 10 minutes or so, Katie will be joining us, and we'll be talking about food as medicine, food as health, coming up in just a few minutes here on Late Night Health. Now we go back to Dr. Dudley-Danoff, the author of The Ultimate Guide to Male Sexual Health. And we've been talking about the fact that us guys, we don't like going to the doctors. We really don't. But you need to. Let's jump forward to an annual prostate exam. It's not something I really like to do. Do we need to do that annually?
Yes, we really do. I mean, there's going to be 240,000 new cases of prostate cancer discovered in the United States alone in the coming year. And many of those are treatable, and if gone untreated and undetected, people will die and still die of prostate cancer. So certainly all men over 40, they should get a digital rectal exam, which is an examination of the prostate with a gloved finger, mildly unpleasant, but easily doable.
Oh, it takes a couple of moments.
They should get a PSA, which is prostate-specific antigen, a simple blood test. A lot of controversy about that, but it's still it's imperfect, but it's still one of the early ways that we can detect prostate cancer, otherwise undetectable.
Maybe I'll make 2 appointments, lunch and an exam. Ken Jeffries, who's sitting in here, had a question for you.
Yeah, sure.
I was going to ask you about the prostate exam, the PSA, and that there'd been a lot of stuff on the news,
right?
As I'm sure as you've been alluding to.
Yes.
Can you expound on that a little bit?
Be happy to. So PSA is an imperfect test, and it's imperfect because lots of things elevate or make a PSA abnormal. Infection, sex,
right.
A bowel movement.
So bottom line, a false positive?
Lots of false positives. But the problem is one of the things that elevates PSA is prostate cancer. And the sad thing is prostate cancer is a silent disease. So pre-PSA era, I would do a rectal exam, find a guy with a hard lump in his prostate. 80% of those guys were incurable. With PSA, we're able to cure almost all of the early organ-confined prostate cancer. So it's a great test. It needs to be put in perspective. An abnormal one needs to be discussed with the urologist. You have to discuss other comorbidities, other things that might elevate it. But to throw the PSA out the window, no urologist who deals with prostate cancer would advocate that.
And, of course, one of the things that the digital exam shows is a smooth, you're looking for a smooth prostate.
Yeah, smooth, symmetrical, no lumps, no bumps, no irregularities, no tenderness. And that's a very accurate examination, for an experienced examiner. And we also have a transrectal ultrasound, which is a relatively non-invasive test based on sonar, sound waves. And that can give us an image of the prostate and is non-invasive.
Is that in lieu of a digital?
No, not in lieu of, including with or added to.
Gotcha. You mentioned tender, okay? To me, the exam itself brings up tender because it's...
Yeah, you have to be, absolutely. So here's the sort of the story. And my father was a dentist. And he was very successful. And I remember as a kid going to his office, and his office was always packed. And I said, Pop, why are you successful? He said, because I have an extremely light touch. He said, if you ever go to the dentist, then you feel that he has his elbow, on your jaw. And I always remember that when I examine a patient, and I always teach that to my students. Gentleness is really what counts, and you have to speak to the patient and prepare them. I remember a couple of years ago, I went to my cardiologist, and he said, who does your digital rectal exam? And I said, well, I guess you do. No, I hadn't one in years. And he did a digital rectal exam. I thought he put his foot up there. And I didn't have the heart to tell him, Charlie, Jesus, that's not the way you do a rectal exam. No wonder you have such a small practice.
Well, I have to say that I've been to Dr. Danoff's office, and it's stuffed. That term was used on purpose.
Yeah.
With patients, primarily men, but there were women in there.
Yeah, sure.
As
we actually have
well.
two. We have two women partners in our group. So,
do you?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Lady urologists.
Lady urologists.
And,
do they work with men or women?
No, some men actually prefer to see a lady urologist. There's a certain, sensitivity, motherly kind of a quality about it.
And smaller fingers.
And well manicured and trimmed.
Which, oh boy.
Yeah.
It could take us on a whole other route, if
you're really getting to have a racy late night television show here, Mark.
Hey, exactly. Well, and we could do it together. We could do it together. The Dudley and Mark show. I see it now.
Okay.
Doctor, thank you very much for joining us. We look forward to having you back soon. We'll work together and see if we can do something on a regular basis. Dr. Dudley-Danoff has been our guest, the ultimate guide to male sexual health. Go to latenighthealth.com under D for Dudley and Danoff and Doctor. You will see his beautiful picture, cover of the book, and a link to his website. I'm Mark Alyn. Coming up next, we're going to talk about plant-based foods that can help improve health. Don't go away. More coming up. Late Night Health continues.
You're listening to Late Night Health with Mark Alyn. The show continues in a moment.